All right, Buck, excited to be joined by our next guest here. Joe Montana is joining us. I could list off all the accolades, but we wouldn't have time to do the interview. They're well known. Joe, thank you so much for taking some time with us. When you're with two former scouts, getting a chance to talk with you, there's a question that's been hanging out there that we have to ask. Mark Gorsak, was he really your high school center? And because he's been telling us this for years. And B, was he any good? I mean, that's what we really want to know.
Absolutely. He was, and he was pretty good. All linemen are good, don't you know that?
Oh yeah, that's the rule. That's the quarterback rule. That's the quarterback rule there. Hey Joe, we've seen so many rookie quarterbacks have success early on in their careers. We're seeing it now this year. I see it doing the Charger games with Justin Herbert. We're going to see Tua this week. What do you remember about your first experience getting out there as a young player?
Well, let's see. My first experience was against Seattle. And I think I threw 2 interceptions that were run back for touchdowns. And the nerve of this guy on the second one to run me over on the 1-yard line to get into the end zone. not good memories. But, yeah, I mean, these guys, the game's a little different, though. You're getting receivers off the ball, getting releases, not knowing that you're not going to take those big hits, a little different. But obviously, I think the guys who have success are really the guys in college who probably were taught how to play the game from the pocket, even though their running ability is still there and escapability when they need it, they still can run the ball and they still can run. Everybody wants to run a little bit of that read option, and those guys can still do that. But, I think one of the disservices that a lot of these coaches do in college to these quarterbacks is that they don't really teach them how to look down the field and understand what's happening. Because anytime you see the guy up, he's behind the center, and then all of a sudden they all go like this, and they turn to the coach, and they're telling them with those signs what the coverage is, where they should throw the ball. I mean, all these things are being told to them instead of them have an understanding of the game. My guess is those guys who are playing at those levels right now, as young guys, have done it in college, and whether they were taught it or somehow they were taught to play the game from the pocket first and not, from. You look at a lot of them when you see a lot of those guys throwing the receivers in college. You're seeing guys running wide open, and when a lot of that started happening originally in the NFL, you were seeing the same type of things, right? First time they're all seeing this, and then you just can't fool those defensive coordinators for too long. They figure out how to get to it. And like for me, I always said if I was on the defensive side, I'd make the quarterback run it every time, so I could gain every more times. Then get another hit wherever you can. He's not made to run the ball, right? I mean, that's not what he does. I mean, he can do it, but he doesn't train like a running back. He's not used to taking those hits. And the more you get on him, it's like Bill Walsh used to talk like the boxer, right? One guy is getting the punch by this much, and by the end of the fight, that little bit of the extra hit, by the time you get to the end of that boxing match, that guy's worn out. And the same thing with the quarterback. Now you get a guy that's running the ball down all the time. You're hitting him in the pocket. There's a little more wear and tear, and it comes down to the end of the game. Now you got to make an accurate throw, right, to win the game. You can go back and look at what happened with the 49ers when they couldn't get they threw it 3 times down there from the 1 or 2 yard line when they were in the Super Bowl, and just had run the ball so many times. By the end of the game, sometimes it gets tough down there. So you get enough hits in the pocket, but that's just my long philosophy.
Joe, you're regarded as the best of all time, the greatest of all time. A lot of it is due to your ability to win and be a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Some of that is tied directly to the 49ers and the culture that you guys created. As the gatekeeper of the culture, as the quarterback, what are some of the standards that you learned or that you impress upon others to get the team to consistently play at a high level?
Well, I think one of the things that Bill, he had us strive for was perfection all the time. He wanted you to be perfect, and no one more so than the quarterback. If you go back and if you watch old footage of whether it was myself, Steve DeBerg, myself, Steve Young, Steve Bono. There's a lot of Steves in there, isn't it? You don't see a lot of guys diving for balls or on occasion, very rare. He demanded crossing routes 12 inches in front of the numbers. If your guy's running a hook and he, or something where he's coming back and looking at you, you can see where the defender is. I want you to throw the ball to the opposite number to tell him to turn that direction, so he doesn't turn and get hit in the face. And just the little things that made a difference to Bill. We did that on both sides of the ball. I mean, he demanded that part of it, and in return, the things that he did for the team that really kind of helped was that we were the first team to take pads off. I mean, for a while we rarely ever put on full pads, even in training camp. Maybe one time for a scrimmage here and there. Most of the time we'd have just shoulder pads, and then the second practice we'd be in just shorts and helmets. And his philosophy was, look, as long as I see you're mentally preparing yourself and you're doing the things you're supposed to do, we'll keep it this way, because I want you healthy on Sunday, not on Wednesday. And so, he goes, and if I don't see it, well, we'll go put the pads back on. I'm happy for that. And he would do that on occasion just to get us and make sure that we knew that he would do it. But in the long run, it was, his philosophy was, why do you want to be mediocre? If you strive to be mediocre and you miss, you're not going to be on this team very long. And so his thing was that perfection, and if you miss being perfect, you still can be pretty good.
Joe, I did a project when I was with the Ravens. We went back and we looked at all the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and we're trying to find, what's the common trait that they possess, and obviously, all different sizes, arm strengths, athletic ability. But the word that I came up with just looking at all of them was just poise. And when we think of you, that's the first word that comes to mind, was just your poise. How would you describe that? What that is, what poise is?
I think it's concentration and it's preparation. One of the things that Bill also strived was, coming to work prepared every day, not Sunday, right? He wants to see it every day. And for us, back early on, we never had the little earpieces. So we had a lot of plays in our offense. And we'd have 120 some passes in every game plan, 35 plus runs. Every one of those had 2-3 formations, and you had to memorize them all. And you had to memorize which order he wanted them in. And because we would get signaled just to play, and so you had to know. And so it took a lot of preparation every day, all the way, even all the way to Friday night was a big, crazy preparation day for me. And, it was so funny. We lost in the championship game to the Redskins, and we went to the Pro Bowl, and Joe Theismann was there. And first day, Bill's coaching the team, because that's how that all worked back then. And he puts in 35 passes in day one. And Joe goes to me, he goes to me, wow, I can't believe he put in all the pass plays in one day. I go, are you crazy? He can install till Saturday. He goes, there's nothing. He goes, I'm not even studying. I go, 35 is nothing. It comes day one. Day one's usually like 80 or 90. Sure enough, he installed. He goes, man, I don't know how you do all that. He goes, how do you? I go, just get used to it after a while.
Hey, Joe, I followed you in Kansas City, and I want to ask you, because we're seeing so many quarterbacks go from one environment, namely Tom Brady's going from one environment where he's been there for 20 years, and then he's going to Tampa. And I want to pick your brain on how you took everything that you learned from San Francisco in terms of the winning way, the championship standard, and you go into a new locker room. How do you impress upon the new guys who may not have sampled winning to your level? Hey, this is what we need to do to reach the dreams that everyone in this room has.
Well, I think the best way to do it is just go in and you have to prove. I think when you first go in there, guys are going, oh yeah, here he comes. He probably thinks he's this, he's all this, and he's all that. But it shows up at practice the first time you get there, and what your practice and your work ethic's like, And I'm sure Tom probably, as great as Tom's been and is, he probably went through the same kind of feeling in that locker room initially until you watch him practice. And that's was Bill's other thing was we practice every day like it's a game, and you bring everything. And I don't want the ball to hit the ground. And that's just was it. He wanted you to make the right decisions. Yeah, we're going to all make mistakes, but it's how you bounce back from the mistake. It's the teaching of like when we went to Kansas City, I was fortunate because Paul Hackett was there, who had been with us at the 49ers and through our second Super Bowl. And so there was a blend of our offense of what we had done in San Francisco with a blend of Marty Schottenheimer's offense. But it's the little things on like helping the wide receivers understand simple little things that it's going to happen. And until they see it happen, they don't believe it. And like we will call a play and it's the backside of a route. We're working on another side. And it was a play called 20 halfback read. And the back comes out of the backfield. We're working on this side of the field, and the X receiver and the back and the tight end and the backside receiver has a post hook read. And I would say, okay, I'm just telling you right now, because when Jerry Rice got there, everything became post hook read for Jerry. And that safety moves out of the middle. I don't care if this guy's wide open. I'm throwing the ball to you. It's coming. And for our first game, I don't think the guy realized we're playing in Tampa that it happened. And I let it go, and I think caught him by surprise, and he dropped it in the end zone for a touchdown. And those are the little things I think you work on the most, and that makes your offense get just a little bit better with how long it takes you to get those receivers on the same page. And I think that's what Tom, I'm sure, has gone through the first part of the season. You could see was a little different than where he's at right now. And then you bring in the knucklehead Gronk to those group of receivers that he's got down there. And even as great as those receivers are to him, it's still what Tom sees, what he expects, and what will help them understand that they're going to get the ball. If you do this, you're going to get the ball against this certain coverage or this kind of play by the defensive back. This is what I expect you to do, because you know what, our guys had so many adjustments that you could almost not cover it. I mean, we could be running a shallow cross, and it could turn into a deep cross, it could turn into a stop, it could turn into a stop and a slide. I mean, you could do almost anything. There were so many adjustments off of every route that it was really hard to cover, especially when you got guys like that came in with Jerry and John Taylor. John Taylor was a freak. I feel bad for him playing on the other side of Jerry because he could have been Jerry Rice. Oops, sorry about that.
That's all right.
It's just, those are the things I think that the biggest part of the transition is everybody getting on the same page, especially throwing the ball.
We've been very generous with your time today, Joe. How about tell us about this partnership you've got here with Notre Dame and with Guinness?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a long time coming. When you look at there's a lot they have in common with the values that they share, the history that they have behind them, the things that they're doing these days, to try to make the world a better place. And the partnership with the NFL, with Notre Dame alumni, and Guinness is, a 7-year process coming out. And I kind of fit in the middle there because I actually fell in love with Guinness while I was in Dublin. We were actually over there with some horse trainers looking for horses, jumping horses. Our girls were jumping, and we're looking to get away from the big expensive market over here. One of the trainers took me to get a pint after Guinness. And first off, I said, Charlie, where's the beer? You didn't come back with it. He goes, oh, no, you got to wait. You got to wait for it because it takes some time to pour perfectly. And from that point on, you always look at it and you see it. It looks really dark and heavy, and it's like light and creamy. And I'm totally taken back by it. And from that point on, every day we were there. Charlie, I think it's time for a pint. Let's go. I'm kind of in the mix there, and we got commercials coming out, and the first one's going to hit here on the Notre Dame Clemson game called Wait For It. And it's about the anticipation of the beer and the anticipation of some great plays that have happened there at Notre Dame. And so it's fun. It's been a fun thing to be associated with, and two great places.
You'll be able to see that commercial November 7th, Clemson, Notre Dame, going to be one of the biggest games of college football season. Joe, it's been an honor and a pleasure to spend some time with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having us.